You're standing in Times Square when the sky tears open. Not metaphorically, not like some CGI effect you'd scroll past on your phone. The actual fabric of reality splits apart above Manhattan, bleeding impossible colors that don't exist in any spectrum human eyes were meant to perceive. The air crystallizes into geometric patterns, fracturing like glass that forgot how to break properly. Every screen in the square goes dark simultaneously. Every sound cuts to silence. And for exactly 3 seconds, time itself holds its breath. Then you see it, a sphere of perfect blue light descending through the wound in space, radiating power that makes your bones vibrate with frequencies older than matter itself. The sphere touches down in the center of the square, and reality snaps back like a rubber band released. Chaos erupts instantly. People scream, running in every direction as car alarms shriek and windows shatter from the shockwave. But you can't move. You're frozen, staring at the impossible thing hovering 3 feet above the cracked pavement. It's small, almost cute, really. A translucent blue slime creature no bigger than a basketball. But something about it is fundamentally wrong. Your instincts, refined by millions of years of evolution, are screaming contradictory warnings. Harmless and apocalyptic, insignificant and infinite, empty and containing multitudes. The slime shifts, and 2 golden eyes open within its gelatinous form, scanning the new world it's entered with an intelligence that feels older than galaxies. 600 miles away in the Sanctum Sanctorum, Dr. Strange's hands freeze mid-gesture during a meditation ritual. The eye of Agamotto burns hot against his chest, flooding his vision with warnings written in languages dead before Atlantis sank. He sees the arrival playing out in real time through mystical perception, the dimensional breach, the entity's manifestation, the aftershocks rippling through every magical ley line on Earth. But what terrifies him isn't the power signature, though it registers beyond anything in his catalogs of cosmic threats. It's the classification his spells can't provide. This being doesn't register as demon, deity or dimensional traveler. It exists in a category his magic literally has no words for. Impossible, he whispers, already opening a portal to New York. This entity doesn't just violate our physical laws, it suggests our laws were never actually complete. The slime begins to shift, reforming itself into a humanoid shape roughly 5.5 feet tall. Blue-silver hair materializes strand by strand, followed by porcelain skin and clothing that seems woven from solidified light itself. The transformation is beautiful and terrifying, watching something write itself into existence using rules it brought from somewhere else entirely. Within 30 seconds, a young man stands where the slime had hovered, his golden eyes still glowing with that same infinite awareness. He looks around Times Square with genuine curiosity, watching panicked crowds flee, while police cars converge from every direction. He doesn't seem concerned, he seems fascinated, like a scientist observing an ant colony. And that's when you realize the truly horrifying truth. This being isn't here to conquer or destroy, it's here to learn. And in the Marvel universe, learning means evolving. High above Earth's atmosphere, the Watcher materializes in the void of space, his ancient eyes fixed on Manhattan. In billions of years of observation, across infinite timelines and countless realities, he has witnessed every possible variation of cosmic catastrophe. But this arrival triggers something he experiences perhaps once per millennium: genuine uncertainty. The entity below doesn't follow the standard patterns of dimensional incursion. It's not a conqueror like Thanos, not a consumer like Galactus, not a corruptor like Dormammu. It's something his vast knowledge base struggles to categorize, a being whose existence seems predicated entirely on perpetual evolution, on analyzing and surpassing every limitation it encounters. The balance was already precarious. Uatu murmurs to no one, his voice heavy with cosmic dread. What happens when perfection incarnate enters a universe built on flawed necessity? In the Triskelion, every alarm Nick Fury has ever installed screams to life simultaneously. Satellite feeds show the dimensional breach. Energy readers flatline from sensory overload. S.H.I.E.L.D's most advanced AI, and I seem to have arrived somewhere very far from home. Your dimensional coordinates don't match any universe in my experience, which is exciting. I have so many questions about how your reality functions. He pauses, head tilting with that same analytical curiosity. Oh, but you're afraid. I can sense your heart rate elevation, the stress hormones flooding your system, the way you're preparing 17 different attack spells even while we talk. You perceive me as a threat. That's reasonable, given my power signature probably exceeds anything you have classification parameters for. But I promise I'm not here to harm anyone. I just want to understand where I am. The sincere reassurance somehow makes Strange more terrified, not less, because he's reading the entity's aura now, really reading it with every scrap of mystical knowledge he possesses, and what he finds defies comprehension. This isn't a single being. It's a collective of consumed powers, abilities, and essences layered into one impossible existence. He sees traces of divine authority, demonic corruption, elemental mastery, spatial manipulation, temporal anomalies, soul-level reconstruction, and concepts his mind literally cannot process without fragmenting. It's like staring at a library where every book is written in a different language that shouldn't be able to coexist, yet somehow they all share the same binding. You're not just powerful, Strange whispers, realization hitting like ice water. You're a singularity. Everything you encounter you consume and integrate. You don't just learn about things. You become them. Rimuru's expression brightens with delighted surprise, like a teacher whose student just grasped a difficult concept. Oh, you're perceptive. Yes, that's exactly how my unique skill Predator works. Well worked. It evolved into something more comprehensive, but the core principle remains. I analyze, integrate, and optimize. It's how I survived in my world, constant adaptation and evolution. But please don't worry, I only consume things with consent or in self-defense, and I certainly don't plan to consume any people. That would be monstrous. He says it with such genuine conviction that Strange almost believes him. Almost. But the Sorcerer Supreme has lived long enough to know that good intentions and cosmic-level power form one of the universe's most dangerous combinations. The road to hell isn't just paved with good intentions. Sometimes it's built by beings who genuinely want to help, but fundamentally don't understand the fragility of what they're touching. Before Strange can formulate a response, alarms shriek across the city as 3 more portals snap open around them. The Avengers arrive in their standard formation. Iron Man's repulsors charging, Captain America's shield raised, Thor crackling with lightning, Black Widow and Hawkeye flanking with weapons drawn. They've clearly been briefed on the threat level, their faces set with that particular grim determination that precedes either historic victory or catastrophic defeat. But Rimuru doesn't react with hostility or even defensiveness. He looks at each of them in turn with that same bright curiosity, his gaze lingering on Thor's divine energy, Tony's arc reactor, Steve's super soldier enhancement. More fascinating examples, he murmurs, almost to himself. Technological energy conversion, biological enhancement, literal divine essence. This universe has such creative solutions to the power limitation problem, and that's when Strange sees it, the faint shimmer around Rimuru's form as his analytical abilities automatically scan the Avengers, cataloging their capabilities, identifying the principles behind their powers, beginning the process of understanding that inevitably leads to integration. Rimuru isn't doing it maliciously. He might not even be doing it consciously. It's simply what he is, a being whose existence is predicated on infinite learning and adaptation. But the implications hit Strange like a physical blow. Every second this entity spends in their universe, he's learning it, mapping it, becoming capable of replicating it. Give him an hour, and he might understand Stark technology better than Tony does. Give him a day, and he could potentially replicate Thor's godhood. Give him a week, and he might begin comprehending the deeper cosmic forces that hold reality together. Avengers, Strange says quietly, his voice carrying a weight that makes everyone tense. We're not dealing with an invasion. We're dealing with something infinitely more complicated. We're watching evolution happen in real time, and I have no idea how to stop it. Tony Stark's HUD goes absolutely insane the moment his sensors lock onto Rimuru, flooding his vision with error messages and contradiction warnings that shouldn't be possible. Energy signature reading, infinite. Threat assessment unable to calculate. Material composition, data corruption. Power source undefined. His AI Friday actually stutters, something he's never heard her do in 5 years of operation. Boss, I'm getting readings that violate thermodynamic laws. This entity is generating more energy than it's consuming, which is impossible. It's as if the conservation of energy just doesn't apply to whatever this thing is. Tony keeps his repulsors charged, but his engineer's mind is already racing through the implications. If this being can bypass fundamental physics, every weapon system he's designed becomes irrelevant. You can't fight something that rewrites the rules faster than you can exploit them. Stand down, Captain America says, stepping forward with his shield lowered but ready, using that commanding voice that stopped 1,000 fights before they started. Steve Rogers has faced aliens, gods and monsters, but he's learned that most conflicts begin with misunderstanding and fear. We're not here to fight unless you give us a reason. Doctor Strange says you're not from this universe. Is that true? It's a simple question delivered with genuine openness, the kind of diplomacy that once stopped a Skrull invasion through pure negotiation. Rimuru's face lights up with what seems like genuine relief. Absolutely not. Fury's voice crackles through their comms. and everyone tenses, because the director only uses that particular tone when containment has failed, and they're moving to contingency protocols. You're looking at an entity class anomaly. Strange is right, it's already learning from you. Every second of exposure gives it more data about our capabilities, our weaknesses, our infrastructure.
Oh, stop.
Your armor's schematics are probably already mapped. Thor, it's analyzing your divine energy signature. Rogers, it's calculating your enhanced biology. This isn't first contact. This is reconnaissance happening in real time, whether the entity intends it or not. Fury's assessment cuts through the moment like a blade, and Rimuru's expression shifts to something that might be hurt, might be understanding, might be both. I promise I'm not cataloging you for hostile purposes, he says softly. But I can't turn off my analytical abilities. It's like asking you to stop breathing. And there it is, the nightmare scenario crystallizing into clarity. Rimuru isn't lying about his intentions. He's genuinely friendly, genuinely wants to help, genuinely has no hostile agenda. But his fundamental nature makes him an existential threat regardless of intention. Every moment he exists in their universe, he's absorbing information, integrating knowledge, evolving capabilities. He's not a bomb they can defuse or an enemy they can negotiate with. He's something far more terrifying, a well-meaning singularity whose very existence rewrites the rules around him. Doctor Strange feels the weight of impossible choice settling onto his shoulders. Do they attempt containment and risk making an enemy of something that could accidentally destroy them while defending itself? Do they trust him and risk him becoming so powerful that even good intentions become catastrophic? Or do they try something no one has suggested yet, finding a way to send him home before his presence fundamentally destabilizes everything they fought to protect? The decision gets made for them when the sky above Manhattan turns the color of dying stars. Not metaphorically, the actual visible spectrum shifts to wavelengths that shouldn't exist in three-dimensional space, causing everyone looking upward to experience momentary nausea as their brains struggle to process impossible colors. Rimuru's eyes snap skyward, his analytical abilities immediately identifying the source, a massive interdimensional presence forcing its way into this reality structure, attracted like a shark to blood in the water. Oh no, he whispers, genuine concern crossing his features for the first time. Something very powerful just noticed me. Something that perceives dimensional breaches as territorial violations. And then the voice comes, not heard through ears but experienced directly in the mind, bypassing sound entirely to resonate in the soul itself. Interloper. Dormammu's consciousness bleeds through the dimensional barrier, and reality itself recoils from his presence. The dark dimension's ruler has sensed the anomaly, the impossible entity that doesn't belong to any realm he's catalogued in eons of conquest and consumption. To Dormammu, Rimuru represents both threat and opportunity, a being whose power signature suggests he might be strong enough to resist consumption, which makes him a challenge worth investigating. You do not belong to this dimension. You do not belong to any dimension I have consumed. Explain your existence before I unmake it. The pressure of his attention alone causes buildings to crack, causes mortals to collapse unconscious, causes even the Avengers to stagger under psychic weight that feels like the universe itself demanding answers. Rimuru doesn't flinch. Instead he rises slowly into the air, his form beginning to shimmer with power that makes the Avengers' instrumentation scream warnings. "I'd prefer not to fight," he says calmly, his voice somehow carrying despite the dimensional storm raging around them. "I'm just passing through, I mean your dimension, no harm." But even as he speaks, Strange can see it happening. Rimuru's analytical abilities processing Dormammu's dark energy, cataloging the dimensional manipulation techniques, beginning to understand the fundamental principles of the dark dimension's existence. It's passive, probably unconscious, but it's happening. And Dormammu, ancient and paranoid from countless eons of cosmic warfare, senses it too. The analysis, the understanding, the integration of knowledge that should be incomprehensible to mortal minds. "You dare study me." Dormammu's rage manifests as reality, tears spreading like cracks in glass, his flaming visage beginning to push through from the dark dimension. "You analyze my essence as if I were mere data to be processed. I am eternal. I am infinite. I am." He stops mid-declaration, and for the first time in recorded history, the conqueror of countless dimensions experiences something he hasn't felt since before time had meaning: uncertainty. Because his own analytical abilities honed across millions of years are reading Rimuru's power signature, and what he finds defies his cosmic understanding. This entity isn't just powerful, its power is definitionally infinite, existing in a state of perpetual growth, each moment adding to an already immeasurable total. Dormammu has conquered beings who claimed godhood, but this creature before him represents something he's never encountered: power without theoretical ceiling. The Avengers watch in stunned silence as two cosmic-level entities face off above Manhattan, reality warping around them like heat shimmer. Tony's running calculations, trying to determine intervention options, but his AI keeps returning the same assessment: insufficient data, threat level beyond measurable parameters, survival probability if caught in crossfire approaches zero. Thor grips Mjolnir tighter, lightning crackling across his body, but even the god of thunder recognizes he's witnessing forces that make Asgardian power look quaint. Steve's tactical mind races through scenarios, but every option ends the same way, with them as collateral damage if this escalates into actual combat. They've prepared for alien invasions, for rogue AI, for enhanced terrorists, but how do you prepare for a conflict where the combatants can accidentally destroy your dimension just by fighting too enthusiastically? "I really don't want to fight you," Rimuru repeats, and there's genuine earnestness in his voice that somehow makes the situation more surreal. Here's an entity powerful enough to concern Dormammu, and he's trying to de-escalate through polite conversation. "I'm not here to conquer or consume or challenge anyone's authority. I'm literally just lost. If you could point me toward the nearest dimensional exit, I'd be happy to leave peacefully." It's possibly the most reasonable statement ever made in the face of cosmic rage, and for a moment, just a moment, it seems like it might actually work. Dormammu's flaming visage flickers with something that might be consideration. After all, if this entity finally understands what extinction feels like. But Rimuru doesn't dodge. He doesn't block. He simply stands in the center of the cosmic storm and analyzes each attack as it arrives, his golden eyes tracking energy patterns, his enhanced perception cataloging the underlying principles. Then he raises one hand and the assault just stops, every technique frozen mid-execution, held suspended by comprehension so complete it becomes a form of control. Your dimensional flames operate on the principle of inverse entropy, Rimuru explains. his voice carrying clearly despite the chaos. "You're not actually burning things, you're accelerating their journey toward heat death on a localized scale. Elegant, but it requires a constant energy feed from the dark dimension to maintain coherence in this reality. If I just sever that connection," he makes a small gesture almost casual, and Dormammu's flames flicker and die like candles in a vacuum. The Dark Dimension Lord recoils, not from pain but from the sheer impossibility of what just occurred. Those flames are part of his fundamental essence, extensions of his will made manifest. They don't simply extinguish. They can't be cut off from his power, except they just were, as easily as flipping a switch, because this entity understood their function well enough to interfere with their basic operation. Below them, Strange watches with a mixture of awe and existential dread. He's spent years studying the dark dimension, learning its secrets, preparing defenses against Dormammu's inevitable return attempts. And this entity, in this dimension for less than an hour, has already surpassed his understanding completely. "Friday, are you recording this?" Tony asks, his voice tight with the kind of tension that comes from watching your entire worldview get rewritten in real time. "Every sensor I have, boss," the AI responds, "but I'm getting data that shouldn't be possible." He's not overpowering Dormammu, he's debugging him. Like Dormammu is software and he's found the exploits in the code. That's exactly what it looks like. Not a fight between equals, but a demonstration of fundamental superiority dressed up as combat. Dormammu, ancient and proud, refuses to accept defeat. He draws deeper from the dark dimension, pulling power through the dimensional breach until reality screams from the strain. His form expands, growing until his flaming head fills the sky, until his presence alone causes gravity to distort and time to stutter. "I am eternity, incarnate," he roars, his voice shattering windows across 3 boroughs. "I have consumed galaxies, devoured dimensions. I will not be lectured by an anomaly that stumbled into existence through cosmic accident." He gathers power that feels like stars collapsing, like black holes forming, like the universe itself being weaponized. This is Dormammu at full strength, the conqueror of countless realities, unleashing everything he has in one desperate, overwhelming assault. Rimuru's response is almost gentle. He doesn't match the display of power with his own. Instead, he simply speaks a single word, a word in a language that predates human civilization, that might predate the universe itself. It's not magic as Strange understands it, not science as Tony recognizes it, but something that exists in the space between concepts. The word means, roughly translated, no, and reality listens. Dormammu's ultimate attack simply unravels, dissipating like mist in sunlight, because Rimuru has imposed his understanding of how things should work onto the local area, and in his understanding, that attack doesn't succeed. It's not power overcoming power, it's authority rewriting the script. The Dark Dimension Lord staggers, his massive form flickering, and for the first time in eons, Dormammu experiences true helplessness. "You're operating under a fundamental misunderstanding," Rimuru says, his voice still calm, still friendly despite everything. "You think this is about power, about who has more energy to throw around, but that's not how I work. I don't overpower things, I understand them. and understanding something completely means being able to redirect it, reshape it, or simply turn it off. Your dimensional structure, your energy manipulation, your very existence. I've been analyzing it all since you arrived, and I have to say you're incredibly impressive. The complexity of maintaining coherence across infinite realities while drawing power from a dimension of pure entropy, that's genuinely remarkable, but it also means I know exactly where your anchor points are, exactly how your power flow operates, and exactly how to interrupt it without causing dimensional collapse. The implications hit Dormammu like physical blows. This entity has not only defeated him, it's dissected him, understood him completely, and is now explaining his own existence back to him like a professor grading homework. Worse, there's no malice in it. Rimuru isn't gloating, he's genuinely trying to be educational, as if this cosmic humiliation were a learning opportunity for both of them. I could consume you, Rimuru continues, and now there's something almost sad in his voice. My predator ability would let me absorb your essence, integrate your powers, add your dimensional mastery to my capabilities, but I don't want to. You're a unique existence, and destroying that uniqueness would be wasteful, so I'm going to make you an offer. Withdraw peacefully, return to your dimension, and we both walk away from this, or force me to actually fight seriously, and discover what happens when adaptation meets true desperation. For a long moment, Dormammu doesn't respond. His flaming form flickers with rage, pride, fear, and something that might be respect. He's conquered dimensions through overwhelming force, through calculated strategy, through patient corruption, but he's never encountered something like this: power that grows through understanding, strength that increases through knowledge, an existence that treats cosmic combat as educational fieldwork. Finally his voice comes again, smaller now, almost conversational despite its cosmic resonance. What are you? It's the same question Strange asked, but now it carries different weight, not a demand for classification, but a genuine plea for comprehension from something that thought it understood everything. Rimuru considers the question, floating calmly. Always operated from a position of complete cosmic awareness. This entity represents their first encounter with genuine ignorance. The Watcher appears among them, his presence unexpected but not unwelcome. Watu has observed this conversation across countless timelines, and in every version his input proves necessary to prevent catastrophic overreaction. I have witnessed this entity across 73 parallel timelines since his arrival. Watu reports his ancient eyes reflecting infinite sadness. In 47 timelines he successfully returns home with minimal disruption. In 19 timelines he becomes Earth's greatest protector, preventing extinction events you have not yet foreseen. In 5 timelines he fundamentally alters reality's structure, not through malice but through accumulated power, becoming so vast it warps causality itself. And in 2 timelines, he pauses, the weight of what he's witnessed pressing down like the death of suns. In 2 timelines he is destroyed by cosmic intervention, and his destruction triggers a cascade failure that unravels dimensional boundaries across the multiverse. The assembled entities process this information in the span of a microsecond, each calculating probabilities across infinite variables. Are you suggesting, the necessity face of the living tribunal intones, that attempting to eliminate this threat might create a larger catastrophe than allowing it to persist? Watu's expression carries the burden of knowledge that cannot be shared, the terrible responsibility of seeing outcomes without being permitted to influence them. I am suggesting that this entity represents a test of cosmic wisdom. Power alone will not resolve this situation. Force will likely make it worse. The question is not whether you can destroy him. The answer is probably yes, at terrible cost. The question is whether destruction serves the greater balance, or whether there exists a solution that preserves both cosmic order and this unique existence. Galactus materializes at the gathering's edge, his massive form dwarfing even these abstract entities. The Devourer of Worlds has sensed the anomaly from across the galaxy, drawn by energy signatures that remind him of the power cosmic but fundamentally transformed into something else entirely. I am hungry, Galactus rumbles, his voice like planets grinding together. But when I consider consuming this entity, my cosmic awareness warns me against the attempt. Not because it would fail, though it might, but because integration of his essence into mine could alter my fundamental nature in unpredictable ways. He is not merely powerful, he is evolutionarily infectious. Whatever consumes him might become something neither him nor themselves, but a hybrid existence following new rules. The admission from a being who has consumed entire civilizations without hesitation sends a clear message: traditional cosmic responses are inadequate. Perhaps the solution lies not in destruction or containment. Infinity suggests its form rippling with new considerations, but in acceleration. If the entity genuinely seeks to return home, we should facilitate that return immediately. His every moment in our universe increases his understanding of our cosmic structure, increases the probability of unintended consequences, increases his integration into our reality's framework. The longer he remains, the harder it becomes to extract him without causing dimensional trauma. We should locate his origin point, stabilize a return pathway, and send him home before his presence becomes too entangled with our existence to safely remove. It's a pragmatic solution, almost elegant in its simplicity, not fighting the problem, but solving it through cooperation. But the vengeance face of the living tribunal raises the counterpoint that everyone present has been avoiding. And what of the knowledge he has already gained? In the brief time since his arrival, he has analyzed Earth's magical systems, studied Dormammu's dimensional structure, observed the Avengers' capabilities, and doubtless catalogued countless other aspects of our reality. If he returns to his universe carrying that knowledge, we have no way of predicting how it might be used or what consequences might ripple back to us through dimensional connections we don't fully understand. We would be trading a present threat for an unknown future risk. The dilemma crystallizes perfectly. Helping him leave prevents immediate escalation, but creates long-term uncertainty. Attempting to contain or destroy him risks immediate catastrophe, and doing nothing allows exponential growth of an already incomprehensible power. Watu watches the deliberation with the weariness of someone who has seen this scene play out across infinite variations, always ending in compromise, always leaving threads of uncertainty dangling into future timelines. There is a fourth option, he says quietly, breaking his vow of non-interference in the smallest possible way. You could simply ask him what he wants, explain your concerns, and negotiate a solution together. He is not a force of nature, or a mindless threat. He is at his core still a person, one with cosmic power, yes, but also with reason, empathy, and genuine desire to avoid causing harm. The solution that serves everyone might be simpler than cosmic intervention.
It might just require treating him as a sapient being rather than an anomaly to be managed. The suggestion is so mundane, so uncosmic in its approach, that the entities pause in genuine consideration. When was the last time they tried diplomacy with something they perceived as a threat? Rimuru is helping repair a collapsed building when reality folds around him like origami. One moment he's using precise matter manipulation to stabilize structural integrity, while terrified civilians are evacuated. The next he's standing in a space that exists outside normal dimensional coordinates. The transition is so smooth, so absolute, that even his enhanced perception barely registers the shift. He finds himself facing entities that make Dormammu look simple by comparison, beings whose forms suggest they're not just powerful but fundamental to existence itself. The living tribunal floats before him, three faces observing him simultaneously from past, present, and future. Behind it, eternity and infinity shimmer with galaxies and infinite space, and somehow, despite never having encountered them before, Rimuru's analytical abilities immediately understand what they are. Not their full nature, that would take time, but enough to know he's standing before the universe's architects. Rimuru Tempest, the equity face speaks, and the sound carries weight that makes atoms vibrate in harmony.
That return, or if we need to work together to develop them, it's a practical response, cutting through cosmic drama to address the core problem. Infinity ripples with spatial calculations, mapping dimensional pathways across infinite coordinate systems. We can facilitate your return, but the process is not without complications. Your origin point exists in a universe operating under different fundamental laws. Creating a stable pathway requires understanding those differences and building a bridge that won't collapse the moment you traverse it. Galactus speaks for the first time since the gathering moved from deliberation to dialogue. The entity has already demonstrated capacity to analyze and comprehend cosmic structures. Perhaps the solution lies in collaboration. We provide the raw power and dimensional anchoring. He provides adaptive understanding to navigate incompatible universal laws. Together we construct a return pathway that serves both stability and his departure. It's an elegant proposal from an unexpected source, the devourer of worlds suggesting cooperation over consumption. But before anyone can respond, the vengeance face of the living tribunal raises the concern that has haunted this entire deliberation. And what of the knowledge you have gained? You have observed our magical systems, studied our dimensional mechanics, analyzed our cosmic entities. You carry information about our universe's structure that could be weaponized or exploited in ways we cannot predict. Rimuru meets the tribunal's gaze without flinching, understanding the weight of what's being asked. You're worried I'll use what I've learned to harm your reality, either deliberately or accidentally through sharing knowledge in my own universe. That's reasonable. I can offer you two assurances, though I understand you have no reason to trust my word alone. First, I have no interest in conquest, exploitation, or interdimensional warfare. My goals are entirely local, protecting my nation and the people under my care. Second, I'm willing to accept limitations if it eases your concerns. If you can create a binding agreement that prevents me from using knowledge gained here to harm this reality, I'll accept those terms. The offer surprises even the cosmic entities. Beings of such power rarely volunteer for restrictions, yet this entity proposes self-limitation as casually as humans agree to contracts. The Watcher materializes fully into the gathering, his presence carrying the weight of observation across infinite timelines. I have seen this moment play out in 73 parallel realities. In 68 of them, the entity keeps his word perfectly. In 4, circumstances arise that make the binding irrelevant because his actions serve mutual benefit despite technicalities. In one timeline, the binding itself creates problems by preventing him from helping during a crisis that threatens both universes. The probability of genuine betrayal approaches 0.01%, effectively negligible by cosmic standards. I believe his offer is genuine. Coming from a being who has never broken his vow of non-interference, the endorsement carries weight that shifts the entire dynamic. The cosmic entities exchange glances, or whatever passes for glances among abstract beings without conventional faces. Finally, all three faces of the living tribunal speak in unison, their voices harmonizing into a declaration that resonates across dimensional boundaries. We accept your terms, Rimuru Tempest. We will work with you to construct a pathway home. In exchange, you will accept a cosmic binding that prevents direct hostile action against our reality and limits proliferation of specific knowledge we deem too dangerous for interdimensional distribution. The binding will be powered by your own agreement, not forced upon you but maintained by your will to honor the contract. This represents a new precedent in cosmic jurisprudence. We hope it proves wiser than the alternatives we considered. There's relief in those words, barely perceptible but present. Even cosmic entities, it seems, prefer solutions that don't end in devastation. Rimuru smiles, genuinely grateful, and extends his hand in a gesture that seems absurdly human in this context. Then let's build a bridge between universes. And maybe in doing so, we'll all learn something valuable about cooperation across impossible distances. The construction begins above Earth's atmosphere, visible as a phenomenon that astronomers will debate for decades. Reality itself becomes malleable, folding and unfolding like geometric impossibilities made manifest in three-dimensional space. Rimuru floats at the center of the cosmic working, his analytical abilities processing information fed directly from eternity about temporal stability requirements, from infinity about spatial coordinate mapping, from the living tribunal about the fundamental laws that must be preserved during interdimensional transit. He's essentially becoming a living translator, taking cosmic-level concepts and converting them into actionable techniques his unique skills can implement. Around him, energy patterns emerge that resemble nothing in human science or magical theory, fractals that extend into dimensions humans cannot perceive, structures that exist simultaneously in multiple states, pathways that connect points separated by more than distance. On Earth below, every superhero, sorcerer, and scientist with the capability to detect cosmic events watches the construction with mixture of awe and terror. Doctor Strange stands in the Sanctum Sanctorum,
observing through mystical perception that shows him layers of reality being carefully peeled back and rewoven like cosmic surgery. He's working with them, strange murmurs, barely believing what he's witnessing. The cosmic abstracts are collaborating with him as equals. In thousands of years of magical study, I've never heard of such cooperation. They negotiate with gods occasionally, bargain with abstract concepts rarely, but actually work alongside an individual entity. Wang appears beside him, his expression carrying the weight of witnessing history being written. Perhaps that's what was needed all along, not submission or confrontation, but partnership. Though I doubt many beings could survive the process of directly interfacing with cosmic consciousness. In the Triskelion, Fury watches satellite feeds showing energy readings that break every scale his equipment possesses. Tell me something.
Recognizes elements similar to his portal magic, but operating at scales that make his sorcery look like a child's finger painting compared to a master's masterpiece. Thor sees patterns reminiscent of Bifrost technology but refined beyond anything, as Guardian Artificers ever achieved. Tony identifies principles that might be distant relatives of quantum tunneling, but evolved into something his physics can barely acknowledge as possible. It's almost complete. Rimuru announces, his voice carrying across dimensional barriers to reach all the cosmic entities simultaneously. The pathway is stable, the dimensional anchoring holds, and I've integrated safeguards that should prevent catastrophic collapse even if unexpected variables emerge during transit. But there's one concern I need to address before we proceed. The cosmic entities pause in their work, attention focusing on him with intensity that would obliterate lesser beings. The binding you mentioned, the contract limiting my actions and knowledge proliferation. I want to establish its exact parameters before I depart. Not because I intend to violate it, but because vague restrictions often create problems through unintended interpretation. Can we formalize the agreement's specific terms? The request demonstrates wisdom beyond his apparent youth, understanding that contracts between cosmic powers require precision that casual promises can't provide. The living tribunal's three faces confer in silence, communicating through means that bypass conventional language entirely. When they speak again, their voice carries the weight of cosmic law being written in real time. The binding shall contain three provisions. First, you will not take direct hostile action against this universe or facilitate such action by others using knowledge gained here. Second, you will not share specific information about our dimensional weak points, cosmic entity vulnerabilities, or reality manipulation techniques unique to our universe. Third, you will honor the spirit of peaceful departure. If you return, it must be through mutual agreement rather than forced intrusion. These terms activate upon your willing acceptance and remain binding across all timelines where you honor them. Do you accept? Rimuru considers the terms carefully, his analytical mind examining every possible interpretation, every potential loophole, every edge case that might create future complications. Finally, he nods with finality that resonates across dimensional boundaries. I accept. Let the binding be established. Golden light erupts from his core, not imposed from outside but generated from within, his own power creating the contract that will limit it, his own will forging the chains that will constrain his actions. It's a display of self-discipline that impresses even beings who have witnessed the birth and death of galaxies. The binding settles into place like a comfortable weight, present but not oppressive, limiting but not crippling. It's done, he says quietly, feeling the contract integrate with his fundamental existence. Now if you're ready, I'd like to go home. I've been away for less than a day, but for people waiting there it might have been far longer. Time doesn't flow consistently across dimensions. The cosmic entities acknowledge his readiness with something that might be respect, might be relief, might be both. The bridge stands complete, spanning the impossible distance between universes. All that remains is the crossing itself, and the question of what happens when a being who has glimpsed Marvel's cosmic secrets returns to his own reality forever changed by the experience. Before the crossing, Rimuru requests one final courtesy, a chance to say goodbye to the mortals whose world he briefly disrupted. The cosmic entities grant permission with understanding that surprises even them. Perhaps they too have learned something about the value of closure. Rimuru descends back to Manhattan, where the Avengers still wait amid ruins of their brief confrontation with Dormammu. They tense instinctively as he approaches, not from fear now but from the visceral awareness of standing before something that has just worked alongside cosmic abstracts as an equal. Strange steps forward first, centuries of diplomatic experience with powerful entities overriding his scholarly instinct to study this impossible being further. You're leaving then? The construction above, that's your way home. It's not quite a question, more an acknowledgement of inevitable departure. Rimuru nods, his expression carrying genuine appreciation mixed with something like melancholy. Yes, the cosmic entities have been more generous than I had any right to expect. They could have tried to destroy me, imprison me, or simply left me stranded while they studied the problem. Instead they chose cooperation. That speaks well of your universe's cosmic governance. He pauses, golden eyes scanning each hero in turn, measuring, cataloging, remembering. I want to apologize for the disruption my arrival caused. I know my presence put your entire reality at risk, even if unintentionally. For what it's worth, in the brief time I've spent here, I've been impressed by your courage, your dedication to protecting others, and your willingness to face threats far beyond normal human capacity. Your world is fortunate to have guardians like you. Tony can't help himself, the engineer in him demanding answers even in this farewell moment. Before you go, just satisfy my curiosity. What's the most significant difference between your universe and ours? Besides the obvious power scaling issues, Rimuru considers the question with that analytical tilt of his head, clearly weighing how much he can share without violating his newly established binding. In my world, strength is more democratized. Magic and skills can be learned, integrated, evolved by almost anyone willing to undergo the process. Here, power seems more restricted. Genetic accidents, divine blessing, technological innovation. Your universe gates power behind specific conditions. Mine treats it as potential available to persistent effort. Neither system is inherently better. They just create very different societies. The observation is delivered without judgment, pure analysis that somehow makes it more profound. Steve Rogers, ever the moral center, asks the question weighing on everyone's mind. If you could stay, if there were no cosmic concerns, no dimensional instability, would you want to? Would you help us protect this world? It's a loaded question, carrying the weight of what-if scenarios and roads not taken. Rimuru's smile turns bittersweet.
tinged with genuine regret. In another life, maybe, your world faces challenges that resonate with struggles I know well. People.
Dr. Strange performs a formal gesture from ancient Vishanti tradition, a recognition of power meeting wisdom rather than power meeting pride. Before you go, I want to thank you for something specific. You demonstrated that escalation isn't inevitable, that cosmic-level conflicts can be resolved through dialogue rather than destruction. That's a lesson some of us needed reminding of. He glances meaningfully at Thor and Tony, both of whom have histories of solving problems through overwhelming force. You were powerful enough to simply take what you wanted, or ignore concerns that didn't directly benefit you. Instead, you negotiated, compromised, accepted limitations to ease fears you could have dismissed. That's not just strength, that's character, and it's a reminder that the most powerful tool in any conflict is the choice to seek understanding before unleashing capability. Rimuru feels the weight of their words settling into memory, each farewell becoming another thread connecting him briefly to this reality before he departs forever. Thank you, all of you, for not attacking first and questioning later, for giving me the chance to explain, for working with me instead of against me. In my experience, that kind of wisdom is rarer than power. He rises slowly into the air, the bridge above beginning to pulse with readiness. Take care of each other and this world. It's more fragile than it looks, but also more resilient than you might fear. And remember, power without wisdom destroys, but wisdom without power can't protect. You've found the balance. Maintain it. With those final words, he begins his ascent toward the cosmic bridge, toward home, toward the life he built in another universe entirely. The Avengers watch him rise, each carrying their own thoughts about the entity that arrived by accident and departed by cosmic cooperation, forever changing their understanding of what's possible when power chooses partnership over domination. The bridge stretches before Rimuru like a corridor of crystallized possibility, its walls formed from agreements between incompatible laws of physics, its foundation built on compromises between universes that should never touch. He pauses at the threshold, looking back one final time at Marvel's Earth, a blue jewel hanging in the void, surrounded by defenders who face impossible odds with courage that transcends their individual power levels. The cosmic entities gather around the bridge's entrance, their immense forms creating a perimeter that feels less like containment and more like a ceremonial honor guard. Are you ready? The living tribunal asks, all three faces focused on him with intensity that acknowledges both the danger of this crossing and the unprecedented nature of their cooperation. Rimuru nods, golden eyes reflecting the swirling energies of the interdimensional pathway, as ready as anyone can be for traveling between fundamentally incompatible realities. Thank you again for building this with me instead of trying to solve me as a problem. He steps forward, and reality immediately protests his transition. The bridge was constructed with precision, but precision can only account for known variables, and crossing between universes this fundamentally different creates variables no calculation can fully predict. Rimuru feels his form beginning to destabilize as conflicting universal laws war over which should govern his existence. Marvel's physics trying to maintain him as he is, his home universe's principles trying to reassert themselves through the connection.
the bridge itself attempting to preserve coherence through the contradiction. His ultimate skill kicks into overdrive, processing the transition in real time, analyzing the cascade of paradoxes, finding the narrow path through impossible mathematics that leads from here to there without obliterating everything in between. It's like threading a needle while the needle, thread and fabric are all redefining themselves microsecond by microsecond. From Earth, the Avengers watch the bridge pulse with energy patterns that seem to fight themselves, reality warping around Rimuru's form as he pushes deeper into the crossing. Is it supposed to look like that? Tony asks, his instruments screaming warnings about dimensional instability spreading from the bridge like cracks in glass. Strange shakes his head slowly, mystical perception showing him layers of causality tangling and untangling, timelines branching and collapsing, space itself questioning its own geometry. No spell I know, no magic I've studied has ever attempted anything remotely this complex. We're watching someone navigate between universes that weren't meant to connect. If he fails, if the bridge collapses while he's mid-transit, the dimensional backlash could tear holes in both realities. The unspoken question hangs in the air. Did they just risk everything on a farewell that might doom them anyway? Halfway through the crossing, Rimuru encounters what can only be described as the space between spaces, a void where neither universe's laws apply, where existence itself becomes negotiable. For a moment that stretches into subjective eternity, he exists in a state of pure potential, neither the slime god he became nor the human he was, but something undefined awaiting resolution. In this moment he glimpses something vast and terrible, a multiverse far larger than either his reality or Marvel's, containing infinite universes operating under infinite variations of physical law, and somewhere in that infinity, beings watching his crossing with interest that feels predatory. He understands suddenly why the cosmic entities were concerned. This bridge isn't just connecting two universes, it's creating a visible pathway through the greater multiverse, a proof of concept that beings from any dimension might study, replicate or exploit. His analytical abilities catalog everything he perceives in this between space, storing information about the greater multiverse's structure, about the pathways connecting infinite realities, about the beings that exist in the spaces where normal causality breaks down. But even as he absorbs this knowledge, the binding he accepted activates, gently but firmly, preventing him from using these insights to navigate back to Marvel's universe without permission. The contract works exactly as designed. He can learn, can grow from the experience, but cannot exploit what he's learned to violate the agreement he made. It's strangely comforting, proof that cosmic justice can function through consent rather than force, that even beings of vast power can be bound by their own honor rather than external change.